the betrayal that ended a friendship. It all started a decade ago when I met Sarah at college. We clicked instantly. We had the same interests, a similar sense of humor, and we were both outsiders who found solace in each other's company. For years, we were inseparable. Through every breakup, every failure, and every milestone, Sarah was there. She was more than a friend. She was a sister to me. Then, about 6 months ago, I found out something that completely shattered my world. I was scrolling through Facebook when a post from my ex, Luke, caught my attention. It wasn't anything out of the ordinary, just a simple status about how much he was enjoying his time in the city. But what stopped me in my tracks was the photo he shared. It was a picture of him and Sarah laughing at a cafe that we used to frequent together. My heart sank. There was no way. I immediately called Sarah. "Hey, I just saw the photo," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "What's going on?" Her response was casual, almost too casual. "Oh, I ran into him the other day. It's nothing. We're just catching up." But something didn't feel right. Luke and I had been broken up for over a year, but I knew how deeply I still felt about him. And I knew how much Sarah had always disliked him. To me, this felt like a betrayal, but I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. That was until I found more. I noticed that Luke and Sarah started hanging out more frequently. Then, one day, I received a message from one of our mutual friends. She had seen Sarah and Luke at his apartment together more than once. Something in me just snapped. I asked Sarah directly, and this time, she didn't deny it. "I didn't know how to tell you," she confessed. "I started to develop feelings for him, and I didn't know what to do. I never meant to hurt you." But to me, it wasn't just about the relationship. It was the secrecy, the lies, the way she had pretended to be my best friend while carrying on behind my back. After everything we had been through, she had chosen him. I couldn't bring myself to stay friends with her after that. I cut all contact, blocked her on social media, and told everyone what had happened. The betrayal was so deep that I didn't think I could ever get past it. A few months passed, and I began to heal. Then, just last week, I received a message from Sarah. She apologized for what she had done, admitting that it wasn't just the relationship that broke us apart, but also her own selfishness and inability to communicate. She said she understood why I'd cut her off, and that she would respect my decision no matter what. I sat there for a while, staring at the message. I had spent months angry, sad, and heartbroken. But after reading her words, I realized something. I had healed. I didn't feel that intense anger anymore. I wasn't ready to forgive her just yet, but the pain wasn't as sharp. I didn't respond to her message, but I felt something inside me shift. Maybe in time, forgiveness would come. But for now, I had learned to move on. 2. The haunted house. I couldn't escape. My first home was supposed to be a fresh start. I had just graduated from college and finally saved enough money for my own place. It was a modest, charming little house on the outskirts of town. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. I loved it instantly, but I soon realized that it wasn't going to be the peaceful retreat I had imagined. At first, everything seemed perfect. I moved in, unpacked my things, and settled into my new life. But then, strange things started happening. It wasn't anything too dramatic at first. Just small, almost imperceptible occurrences. At night, I would hear the sound of footsteps in the hallway. When I would get up to check, no one would be there. But I shrugged it off, thinking it was just the house settling. As the days passed, the noises grew louder. It was no longer just footsteps. It was doors creaking, faint whispers, and a sense of movement when no one else was around. I convinced myself that I was just imagining things. I had always been a bit paranoid, so I figured my mind was playing tricks on me. But then it happened. One evening, I was sitting on the couch, reading a book, when I heard someone call my name. It was clear as day, a voice I didn't recognize. I jumped up, but no one was there. My heart raced as I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was a neighbor, or perhaps the house was just filled with creaks and groans. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. A week later, I was lying in bed when I felt a cold breeze wash over me. The temperature dropped so suddenly that I could see my breath in the air. I sat up, shivering, and looked around. That's when I saw it. Standing in the doorway of my bedroom was a figure, a shadowy, indistinct form that seemed to flicker in and out of focus. It didn't move. It just stood there, watching me. I grabbed my phone and dialed a friend, but by the time they arrived, the figure was gone. I thought I had imagined it, but the cold air remained. It was as if the house itself was alive, and it was trying to tell me something. After that night, I couldn't stay there anymore. I packed up everything, called a moving company, and left the house behind. I didn't want to go back, but months later, I drove past the house again. It looked just as it had when I first moved in, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something still lingered there. I never did find out who or what was haunting that house. But I left it behind, hoping that whatever it was, it would stay there. 3. Escaping a toxic relationship. I met Mike during my first year of college. He was charming, funny, and everything I thought I wanted in a partner. We had so much in common, and I quickly fell for him. But what started as a whirlwind romance soon turned into a toxic and manipulative relationship. In the beginning, Mike was sweet and caring. He would text me throughout the day, shower me with compliments, and make me feel like I was the most important person in the world. But as the months went by, things started to change. He became controlling. He didn't like it when I hung out with friends without him. He started telling me what I should wear, who I should talk to, and even what I should eat. I didn't realize how bad it had gotten until one night we got into a huge argument. He called me every name in the book, belittling me, making me feel worthless. I tried to leave, but he begged me to stay, promising that he would change. I believed him. I always believed him. This cycle continued for months. Good days followed by bad days, moments of affection followed by emotional abuse. I started losing touch with my friends and family. I was too scared to leave. But then, one day, something clicked. I was sitting in my room, looking at the picture of myself from last year, a version of me that looked happy and free. I didn't recognize the person in the mirror anymore. I was tired, broken, and miserable. I ended it. It wasn't easy, and it wasn't quick. I spent weeks planning my exit, making sure I had the support I needed. The moment I walked out of his life, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. It took time, but I began rebuilding myself. I reconnected with friends, focused on my passions, and eventually found a therapist who helped me unpack the trauma I had experienced. Now I'm in a healthier relationship. I've learned to set boundaries, to love myself first, and to never let anyone treat me like that again. Leaving Mike was the hardest decision I ever made, but it was also the best. 4. The stranger who knew too much. I had always been careful about my online presence. I didn't share much on social media, and I never posted anything personal. But then, a year ago, I received a message on Instagram from someone I didn't know. The message was innocent enough, just a comment on one of my posts. But what stood out was how much this person seemed to know about me. At first, I brushed it off. Maybe it was a coincidence, or maybe they had seen something I had posted a long time ago. But the messages kept coming. He would comment on my hobbies, my favorite music, and even my friends. One message, in particular, caught my attention. I remember when you used to visit that coffee shop on 5th Street. I hope you're still going there. I was freaked out. The coffee shop on 5th Street was a place I frequented often, but I hadn't shared that information with anyone. Not even my closest friends knew I went there regularly. I asked the person how they knew about it, and they responded, "I know everything about you." That was when the panic set in. Who was this person? How did they know all these details about my life? I didn't want to block them because they hadn't said anything overtly threatening yet, but I felt like I was being watched. Every time I went out, I felt like I was being followed, even though I never saw anyone. One day, I received a package at my door. Inside was a notebook, handwritten with messages that only someone who knew me intimately could write. The final note said, "I'll be seeing you soon." I called the police and reported everything, but they told me it was hard to track someone down based on online messages alone. I changed all my passwords, moved to a new apartment, and tried to distance myself from social media. But to this day, I don't know who that person was or how they knew so much about me. The fear still lingers every time I hear someone walking behind me on the street.